So in section 5, we're going to look at solving quadratics by completing the square. This is an idea that's going to be brand new to you, and to be honest with you, it's probably not going to be the easiest concept for you to grasp right away. So we are going to spend 2 days on this section for that reason, and so we're just going to kind of go forward here with the video and see what happens. So it says you guys can go ahead and find those products. All you have to do is go ahead and multiply them out. Okay, perfect square binomial. Remember, a trinomial is called a perfect square trinomial when it can be written as a square of a binomial. All right, in other words, if you can take something and rewrite it as, rewrite it as x plus 2 quantity squared, then it's called a perfect square. Okay. So completing a square is the method of creating perfect square trinomials. That way we can factor them and then solve. All right, so we're going to use this method to solve equations. So what we want to do is, step 1, okay, you're always asking what is half of the x coefficient, okay, so what is half of the b? Well, step 1 here, half of the b is 3, okay, and then you square that to get c. So step 2, you know your c value is 9. All right, so in other words, you're going to write this as x squared plus 6x plus 9, and the advantage to that is this: when you factor that, that's going to be x plus 3 quantity squared. Okay, same thing in part B. Half of your b is 9. You square that, you get 81. So c equals 81 here. So you get x squared plus 18x plus 81. Again, advantage, x plus 9 quantity squared. Negative 6 is half. Negative 6 squared is 36. And so you end up at x squared minus 12x plus 36. Advantage, that's x minus 6 quantity squared. So that's what we're trying to do when we say complete the square. We're trying to get a trinomial so it's a perfect square, so it works out to where we can factor it nicely using our shortcuts that we used last chapter. Okay. So when you want to solve equations by completing the square, very simply, you isolate the constant, okay, to the right side, and then everything else is to the left. Okay. If the equation has a leading coefficient other than 1, divide the entire equation by that value so that the leading coefficient is 1. So in other words, we need the thing in front of the x squared to be 1. Complete the square by dividing the x coefficient by 2, square it, blah, 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 blah. All right, the left side is the square of a binomial. Take the square root of both sides, solve for x. Okay, so in other words, if I look at part A, we're going to do a couple of these, and again, I know this is confusing right now, but we'll get it. Okay, we're going to spend a lot of time in class as well. So I look at part A here. All right, so what I have to rewrite this is x squared minus 8x plus my perfect trinomial, right? So half of this guy is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. So this thing's 16, and we know in algebra what you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other side. And so now what you end up doing is, the whole point of writing it like this is that's x minus 4 quantity squared equals 25. All right, and now what you can do is you can take the square root of both sides. You take the square root of both sides, you have x minus 4 equals 5 or negative 5. So plus or minus 5 is the way we'll write that. And so now what you have from here is you have two different equations. You have x minus 4 equals positive 5, x minus 4 equals negative 5. Solve them both. Plus 4 plus 4. So x could equal 9, or x could equal negative 1. Okay. If I look at part B here, again, divide this by 2, I get negative 10. Negative 10 squared is 100. All right. And then I go through and I get, all right, so that's x minus 10 quantity squared equals 95. This one's not going to work out very nice here for us. Take the square root. So x minus 10 equals plus or minus the square root of 95. And this is one where we're going to have approximations because we don't know the exact square root. So all you do is x minus 10. So you say equals square root 95, or x minus 10 equals negative square root 95. Solve that. Okay, just plug it into your calculator at that point because those are not nice numbers. We'll do part D, and this will be the last one for this particular video. So what we got to do is we have to isolate the constant on the right-hand side. So we're going to move all my x's and x squareds to the left and all my constants to the right. And now I got to divide everything by this 9 because remember we need that leading coefficient to be 1. So we have x squared plus 2x equals 1. Complete the square, so that's x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals, and if we add 1 there, I got to add 1 over here, so it's 2. All right, so this is x plus 1 squared equals 2, square root both sides, x plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 2, and then again you write out your two equations and solve from there. So again, I know that this is a new concept, but I just wanted to kind of give you a brief intro. We're going to spend 2 days on this and you'll be good.